conclusion of the Daniel Bryan Dolph Ziggler match, and indeed right now some stuff's happening. Vicky Guerrero is getting very angry. She's trying to overthrow the referee's decision, and at this point this could even be reversed as we watch it here. So let's wait and see what happens. But overall, I did quite enjoy this match. Now, it was quite slow. It started off heel-led with Dolph Ziggler doing a lot of stuff to keep Daniel Bryan on the mat. And indeed, even Dolph gave his attempt at mat-style wrestling. Of course, to match Daniel Bryan is always going to be a tough thing, but Dolph did his very best tonight. And of course we speculated how, well, I mean, Daniel Bryan, he's been there, he's done that, he's been all around the world, and perhaps Dolph, maybe not as much experience, but certainly I think he performed well toe to toe with Daniel Bryan.
Dolph Ziggler sorry, Dolph Ziggler, what a performer, but outperformed tonight by the man himself, Daniel Bryan. Ziggler leaves the arena to chants of "You tapped out," and tap out he did to the Raw brand as 1-0 to Raw from Bragging Rights, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 2010.
Once again, Daniel Bryan in the opening match of a WWE pay-per-view was a fantastic start, and I think he's going to be in there regularly. He's going to have lots more shots in the future, and in the coming year I think they're going to have a lot more focus on him as well. Right now we're seeing Team Raw arguing, but we're talking about what we thought of that last match. And indeed, Daniel Bryan has made Dolph Ziggler tap out, and of course a lot of great stuff in there, but overall a bit slower than that last triple threat match at Hell in a Cell, but of course with just two guys always going to be a little bit tougher to perform. Of course, a lot of people wondering, would this ever have thought to have been a unification match, the chance of the US title and the IC title coming together? No joy on that, and no belt changes hands here tonight.
No, Daniel Bryan just comes out on top, and poor Dolph gets the other end of the stick. Although we thought it would be the other way around, but looks like Daniel Bryan, probably one of the best mid-carders in the company, goes over tonight on Dolph Ziggler. Everybody goes home happy with the title, but it is still Raw 1 and SmackDown a big fat 0.
We've just seen a surprise tag team match. John Cena and David Otunga were in a match versus Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, and indeed the team of Cena and Otunga have come out of it with those unified tag team belts. Now this match was initially a case of Otunga being worked over by Cody Rhodes and Drew, some double teaming going on there, and then Cena spent most of the match getting worked over, and that led to an interesting finish. STFU.
Yep, look out, Powers of Pain. It's Cena and Otunga time. This generation's Tag Team Supreme and the new WWE Tag Team Champions. David Otunga absolutely ecstatic when the STF was locked in, and poor Cody Rhodes tapped out, and as Cody and Drew dropped the belts, and the belts now seem to change brands at the same time, I suppose.
That's a good point.
Yeah, interesting to see that Cena looked to be happy about it, but did the swerve and actually took David Otunga out with the attitude adjustment, and leaving the ring with the two belts, and not just giving in, and in true C-Nation fashion, never giving up.
The first incident, in fact, of the belt changing brands since that recent unification has been made totally official. Of course, yeah, it proves that they will go from brand to brand now, and so anybody really could be tag team champions, and you know, they could go anywhere with that, and I actually think that's quite a positive thing. Yeah, other than that, I think it was a standard tag team match, just really in there for a way of getting those belts on the Nexus guys. And also, of course, Cena had the Nexus armband as well, which I think we have called for, to perhaps get him quicker towards that heel persona. And indeed, it would be excellent if he did go all the way, the full heel turn, and I think it's quite possible. One other thing I did speculate is that at this stage, now we're watching this pay-per-view as it happens, just seeing the end of that match, I think maybe it's possible that Barrett could equal a Nexus clean sweep, belts for everyone.
Will all the titles end up in the Nexus? Will Nexus reign supreme? It looks like it's going that way, and it looks like Wade Barrett might be the one to take Randy Orton out.
A solid match, both guys worked very well, and indeed an interesting finish as well. Well, it did have Diva involvement, of course. Maurice and also Oksana were involved in some fighting outside the ring, and this led to a finish which almost hinted at some distraction and perhaps not a totally clean outcome.
Yeah, Maurice not too happy with Oksana on the other side, and putting the beat down early on the match was Ted and Goldust went head to head, and quite a good solid match, but in the end it was outside interference that put things a bit pear-shaped, and Ted DiBiase going over for the win. But as Oksana takes that belt from Maurice, she tries to, I suppose, come on to Ted DiBiase, but only to lead him astray and work him, while Goldust goes in for the attack and walks out with the $1 million championship, but not with the win.
A very quick match, and indeed it was certainly not that long at all. It did keep my interest though for what it was, and also Goldust returning at the end and getting his side of things when he of course used Oksana to distract Ted DiBiase after the finish, and then Goldust, as you say, well, he put the drop down on Ted DiBiase. So plenty of room to keep this one going. They can certainly spread it out and put it on some more pay-per-views. I'd certainly like to see it again. A quick little preview, I think, of what's maybe to come on that. Now, we do have Drifter as well on Skype. Drifter, what did you think of that one?
Well, I was pretty sure that Goldust was going to go over with his book coming out, so that was only natural that they would give him the win.
As just buried Undertaker alive in that makeshift grave set up near the Titantron. Nexus were involved in the finish here. Very surprisingly, Wade Barrett and the rest of the crew out to make it a non-clean finish in this one, and to allow Undertaker to lose, but in a sense save some face. Now a shot at the grave, and Taker is buried alive.
Yep, the Nexus interferer once again to rain terror on the WWE. An unsuccessful attempt first time around. Undertaker tried his best and managed to get Kane into that 6-foot hole, but bury him he didn't. And with some interference from the Nexus, Taker did his best to take them all out, but it was Kane who took that urn and took Taker out and managed to get him in the grave. And then using his super Kane powers, he managed to start that dump truck and save him the bother of shifting all that gravel and dirt with the shovel into the hole, and use his superpowers to start the digger. Well, not start the digger, but make the digger drop all that dirt into the hole. And it looks like the dead man is dead.
Kane's science fiction powers coming into play here, and indeed a raising of the arms, which usually sums up the fire. As you say, made that truck spring to life. And indeed, that's pretty much the finish. When you look at it, that was the buried alive definitive answer. Taker's finished. It started with 2 visits to the crowd, and indeed with Kane thrown over that safety wall twice, and then they returned to ringside. So it was a little bit repetitive in that sense, but then after a little while, making their way to the Titantron, and of course we knew they were going to have to be close to that grave, which indeed was right at the ramp entrance. So again, I think this one can maybe end here. I mean, Taker was buried alive, and we just saw shots of all sorts of lighting effects and things, and I was expecting to see him rise up like he did at one time in the past. So overall, I think decent and a spectacle, and of course Nexus getting involved, that certainly creates a high spot.
Yeah, I think the kids are going to love this one. They might have seen a Buried Alive match before, but they've certainly seen it tonight. And yeah, just good fun and nice touches from WWE. I mean, they couldn't put who the person that was going over was, or sorry, the person who wasn't going over on the tombstone, but still nicely done with the Taker logo being flashed down from above. And now, good time for Taker to go on a holiday if he needs a holiday, or maybe even get a tattoo of McCool across his neck. But either way, I'd say it's a couple of weeks off for the dead man.
It could indeed be a few weeks off TV. SmackDown will be missing a top star. I don't think perhaps the end for good. Maybe he can just take the 4 weeks off until Survivor Series and be ready for another encounter with Kane at that next pay-per-view.